German JP from Elk Grove, California, hit us and said, if there's a third straight non-SEC national champ this year, do you think that does anything to chip away at the SEC's power over the whole sport? Love the show. So if the SEC goes a third year without having a national champ, does their power over the sport wane? Not one bit. I don't think it wanes one bit. I actually don't think that's what this is predicated on. Or if you want to claim it's predicated on that, well, okay, by that very logic, then I would ask you, if it's that important to be winning national titles, then their power is forged in how many they already won over the past generation or two generations. Therefore, it takes more than a 36-month drought period, quotation marks, for that to unravel. I also can't believe this is the discourse, but then again, I can. Look, here's a little side opinion that I've come to realize. There are some things in college football we are past the point of reasonable discourse on, and the SEC is one of them. Some would argue this happened a long time ago, but I don't believe that. Because as recently as like a couple of years ago, sure, if you lived in Gary, Indiana, you probably didn't grow up a huge fan of the Southeastern Conference, but I mean, we were having rational conversation. That's gone, man. It's just not happening. So I've largely like pushed my chair back from the table on these sorts of conversations, but I've been looking lately. I'll give you a perfect example. So my answer to the question is no, they're not going to lose power if they don't win the national title. But beyond that, just the conversation around this conference right now, it was so perfectly crystallized the last 2 weeks, not to rehash what we talked about to lead the show, but to kind of circle back for 30 seconds. You know how everyone was yelling death to the SEC because they thought Greg Sankey was pushing for the AQ structure? And shame on the SEC for having the audacity to demand that they get 4 guaranteed spots. You remember that? And then you remember Greg Sankey said, yeah, we actually don't want that. We want the 5+11 model. And then the same people yelled, shame on the SEC for being so greedy. Shame on them for wanting a model where they could load up and get more than 4 teams in. It's like, are you looking for them to just say, we're going basketball only. We're done with football. You guys can have it. We are retiring collectively as a conference from the sport. And then the schedule thing as well. Let me cut in really quick and ask, look, prayer hands, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you think you're subscribed, check and make sure. Over 50% of you aren't. It's free, it doesn't sign you up for anything, and it helps us keep the show free, college football year-round, the way God intended it. All right, back to the clip. If you think the SEC should be playing 9 league games, okay, I happen to agree with you. I'd love for the SEC to be playing 9 conference games. But the conversation around it is so intellectually dishonest, you can't even have it in good faith. If you believe that they should play 9 league games just because you think everybody should play the same amount of league games, that's okay. But please stop coming at me and saying, well, the SEC, they're just a bunch of cowards. They'd rather play cupcakes in November instead of a 9th league game. Yeah, but that's chapter 3. What's chapter 1 and chapter 2? Chapter 1 is, even with 8, the totality of their league schedules are tougher than a vast majority of 9-game league schedules elsewhere. I mean, you can debate me on that if you want to. I'm just going to throw math at you. And then the other part of that is, I don't know if you've realized this. I think college football nerds, the pair, both of whom were at the wedding last week, they do a great job of explaining this. We get so caught up on the semantics of FCS/cupcake versus quality opponent. And the bottom line is, if you're Ohio State or you're Georgia, and one of you plays Mercer and one of them plays Kent State, there's no difference. Either way, you're naming the score. There's no difference. But yet, one of you is going to get credit for playing a G5 team. The other one's going to get crucified for playing a cupcake team. And this stuff just doesn't matter. And also, you need to understand that if we're really basing all of our metrics on strength of schedule, but then at the end of the year, you've got the playoff committee talking about records, And I'm not even throwing around specific teams. I'm saying in a very generic sense or general sense, you've got a crowd that believes you are what your record says you are, and they're unwilling to budge on that thinking. Why would the SEC ever move? Well, if you ran the SEC, why would you ever change that? Until you got guarantees that you weren't going to be punished for enhancing the already toughest average league schedule in the country. It's so blatantly obvious. You can have the opinion that you wish it was different, but there's so much intellectual dishonesty in it that you can't even have like a normal conversation. And if you do start to have a normal conversation with someone, it's not too long before someone wanders in off the street and hijacks it.